What's up guys, Joe here, back into the video. Today's video is what if episode 4 in Revenge Down was a non-elimination. So this idea was by hashtag #EnterMeMash. Thank you for your suggestion. Sorry a lot of your suggestions were taking it a while for me to do the videos. So I have a notebook of suggestions people have done to me. So don't think that I'm not doing them. I am. It's taking me a while to do all your ideas and the thumbnails and the editing. So just hope you guys do appreciate that. So on with the video. Thank you for your suggestion, and I apologize for saying that bit of that slight bit of explanation in your shout out for the video. So I am sorry. Anyway, let's begin. So right off the bat, Brick wouldn't volunteer to himself as tribute, which means Brick would actually stay on the Maggots team, which is interesting because the Rats do never get Brick, meaning that they have the numbers advantage, but it's a non-elimination. Episode 5, this is the water challenge. So Joe and Brick would argue before the last challenge and how Brick could have won had Joe just let him carry the rest of his team. I think the rest of the team would agree with Brick, but I think they'd be afraid to say anything just so they wouldn't want to cause more conflict. So Brick would go in the suit because Joe would make him after want to redeem himself, prove himself as a good leader, and Brick just having the name leader but isn't actually a leader. As we see in the show, that Brick's more about taking orders like sir and ma'am. Scott would still go in the suit and Lightning was still pumping up too much. Would go in it now. Scott would Lightning would still pump the suit too much. Scott would still be the shooter and Lightning. Joe would drive and Brick would be the shooter. Everyone else is on the back. Of course, before that, Mike and Amory were still making out. Scott's still sabotaging his own team because he likes that strategy. And Dawn calls him out for it. Scott sabotages Dawn and the Maggots already win this challenge. So I think with Brick on their team, they'd only just do better in this challenge. Considering that the Maggots already win anyways, there's no reason for me to believe that they wouldn't win again. And because Dawn was sabotaged by Scott, she gets voted off. Episode 6 is Runaway Models, so usually here they make a guys pact and go up to make a situation with Scott. So Scott actually has to think about now, would he rather get rid of Lightning and Sam next, because this is kind of a tough situation because there's only 3 of them. Sam Maria would still dress up the Maggot, and then it would be the new task to save it, Lindsay. So the girls would still dress up Zoe, put makeup on Joe. Brick would run to the top to try and save Lindsay, but him, Scott, and Lightning fall. Joe gets to the top, attracting the Yeti. Sam goes gamer mode and still loses it for his team. Joe hits off the Yeti, and because of that, they win the challenge. And it's you'd rather get rid of Lightning or Sam. I think Scott would still get rid of Lightning, but this vote's important because Scott would still get switched over to Joe. And I don't think Brick would really go over because it's hard for me to say if Brick would go over instead of Joe. So stick to the original. I'm going to say Sam gets voted off, as maybe Scott knew they were switching teams. I don't know. You could say maybe Lightning if you didn't know, but I think Chris did say that they were switching teams, so that's that. Episode 7. Brick still slides down. Joe slides down. Lightning has the jar on his head, so they're just traveling together. Maria gets taken by Ezekiel with the diamond, and Brick will use his shoe to save everyone, because everyone's with their teams now. Lightning will still cause a cave-in, but now that Brick's on their team and he'd go back to save Cameron and Zoe, the Rats actually win this challenge. So Scott's able to get Brick and Maria and manipulates them and says that we need to vote off Zoe because she's taken away Mike from you. Also, Zoe votes Amaria, Mike votes Amaria, Cameron votes Amaria, Brick votes Amaria. I think Scott would just go along with the vote and vote Amaria. So Amaria is eliminated. And there's no double elimination because they didn't vote anyone else off. Which Amaria quits anyway, so she'd still go out. Episode 8. Dakota wouldn't come back as a player because the reason she comes back is because Amaria quit. But now she was actually voted off, I think Dakota doesn't come back. So episode 8 rolls around, and this is where basically they have to get across with the rafts. So Brick would be helping his team. Scott would still want to sabotage, which he likes that strategy. Joe and Lightning still get attacked by the squid. Scott would still be sabotaging, taking the stuff, and getting his team in the wrong direction. And because Dakota's always not here and they have extra around the bush, I think Joe and Lightning just win. And this is the vote where Cameron next to tells Scott Mike has multiple personalities. So the rats just win. But everyone votes for Scott, but Scott has the idol, and I'm going to explain why I think he would vote for who I think he would vote for. He wants to keep Zoe in his side. Mikey wants to blackmail in the next episode. And I think he wants to get rid of Cameron. I know he would see Brick as an option, but I think he would realise that Cameron's more of a threatening player because Cameron's intelligence, and in this timeline, Scott would see this as this three-person alliance, whereas he has to do something. I know he would see Brick as an option, but he would see this three-person alliance and realise that he has to do something about it. So here, Scott uses the idol and gets rid of Cameron. Merge day. The merge. I like this merge. I think this is a class merge. Bye-bye rats. Bye-bye maggots. The only difference we have is Brick's here instead of Cameron. So this is where they have to Grand Theft Auto. Scott's still blackmailing Mike in this episode, so he's driving him across. Joe and Lightning still have their alliance. But would you rather betray Lightning here, or would you get Brick? I think Joe would probably keep Lightning around a little bit longer in this timeline, because if she betrays Lightning here, she's obviously on her own. So I don't think she completely screws Lightning over, so they would stick together. Zoe's still trying to talk to Mike. I think Brick... Normally I say Brick wins, but because Scott's getting told by Mike, I think Scott's probably going to win this challenge. And Mike would still tell Zoe about his multiple personality disorder, and because Scott gets the solo vote and he can't blackmail Mike for something that he's not keeping a secret, Scott still decides to eliminate Mike here. Episode 10. The first part of the challenge is getting through the obstacle course, then Heather steals the money, and the challenge would be trying to stop the money to get Heather. Joe still gets the balloon, Lightning would get the plane, Brick would get the rocket, Scott gets the wings, and Zoe gets the helicopter. Zoe gets the plane, Lightning gets the helicopter, and that's that. So, for winning the last challenge, Joe has... for winning the last challenge, a hot air is the smoke machine, so nobody gets that because Cameron's not here. Joe probably gets that now. And she'd use that to sabotage Brick, so Brick is out the running for winning. Lightning would be tackling the thing. Zoe would still hit down Scott, which makes sense. She races at the top. Lightning would is fighting Heather. Joe goes flying through the wind. So I think Lightning wins. In my opinion, I think Lightning wins immunity, and Joe and Zoe just wouldn't do that well here. So Lightning wins because Cameron's not here to blast through the window. And Joe goes to Scott and says we need to vote for Zoe or Brick. So Zoe and Brick vote for Joe, considering the fact that in the original they did. But Scott's not an idiot. Scott decides that he needs to get rid of Zoe or Brick here. Scott decides he's going to get rid of Joe because of the alliance thing. I think it's actually a really tough vote, because I could see Scott voting for Brick, and I could see Scott voting for Joe. But I think Scott chooses to eliminate Brick here, as Brick's the bigger threat, and would likely win in a strength. If it came out to strength and speed and stuff, like Brick's more likely winning a challenge over Joe. So Brick's eliminated. Episode 11. EP Brave. So the first part of the challenge is where they have to cook. Joe's the one that wasn't here originally, she'd be alright. Scott would still be sabotaging the other teams. Zoe would still get her necklace broken thanks to Lightning. Joe wouldn't just be rushing with Lightning. I think it's close. I think Lightning would probably win it now, because, again, Joe, obviously, she's annoyed she wanted to get rid of Lightning, but obviously she's not going to... Nothing she can do. Scott and Zoe decide to make a temporary alliance. So Zoe votes for Scott. Scott votes for Joe. Joe votes for Scott, and Lightning probably votes for Scott. However, I think Scott being Scott would begin to talk to people. Mainly Zoe on how Joe is Lightning's last ally. Do you really want to, if you vote me off, are you expecting me to lose? So I think Zoe will vote for Joe. Joe votes for Zoe. And Scott tries to talk to Zoe and Joe. Lightning, he wouldn't vote for Joe because he wasn't betrayed by her in this timeline. And I think Scott could just convince Lightning, saying, what if Joe betrays you? She's only using you, dude. You're not going to get any further. You're a one-man team. And Lightning says that that's right. Lightning would vote for Joe, being manipulated by Scott. And Scott would probably be able to save himself by voting for Joe. So I think Joe actually would be eliminated because her and Lightning are an alliance. And it never breaks in this timeline because Joe doesn't betray Lightning. Episode 12. This is when they all each get a map and they have to get the fire plant. So Zoe still attacks with Lightning. Lightning's not teaming up against everyone this time because he's on his own. And Scott's on his own. So Scott's going to try and probably get Lightning to lose. And Scott will be alright at this, but what usually happens here is in this episode. Zoe has the fire plant, but then goes back to save Cameron. Now that Cameron's not there, I think Zoe would actually win this challenge. I think Zoe wins. So, who would Zoe take the finale between Lightning and Scott? And I think Lightning gets eliminated here because Lightning obviously is the biggest threat of the two. And even though she doesn't like Scott, I think she would see that Scott's an easy opponent, obviously, to beat in the finale. So Scott and Zoe would be the finalists. They each get winning endings. They got a pinning drill for 3 seconds. Zoe's still commando. Mike's able to sympathize and talk with her about her personality change. Zoe switches back from commando to Zoe. And they each get winning endings depending on... Mike could be the deciding factor if Zoe wins or not. And in both, she turns back to her normal self. In her normal ending, she turns back from herself and she's able to pin down Scott for 3 seconds. In Scott's winning ending, she's distracted for too long after changing, and Scott's able to get the upper hand and pin her for about 3 seconds. So my winner would be Scott, because Scott's one of my favorite characters in Revenge. I do really like Zoe's character, though. She's a pretty cool character. So I would be happy if Zoe won either one. I'm not bothered with. I'd be happy for either one to win. So thank you guys for watching. This is the elimination order and how I think the season would have gone if episode 4 was a non-elimination. So Brick would have came 5th, which is pretty crazy. Thank you for your suggestion, and yeah, peace, farewell.